Thank you so much for joining us here on another episode of the Headed Home podcast. I think we're going to have a terrific episode today because we have an incredible guest. We are joined by one of our favorite realtors and our really good friend, Regina Moore. Gina, thank you for spending some time with us today. We are stoked to have you on.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. You guys made me take a shower this morning, and post-COVID, it's not always a daily situation.
The remote life. I get it.
Right.
Well, we're glad you're here. And, we've known each other for about 10 years now. We've worked together to help, several buyers and sellers, buy and sell real estate in that span. And something that I notice about you and that I count on when working with you is that you provide just such a high level of customer service, such a high level of expertise. You have an insane, amount of attention to detail and just this abundance of knowledge around all of the different aspects of real estate, title, appraisals, lending, property management, interior design, you name it. I feel like you would be a successful professional in multiple professions. If you wanted to, you just choose to be a real estate agent. And I love that about you. I'm always impressed by you. And I'm just, I feel lucky to be associated with you in this business.
I need to carry you around everywhere.
It's true though. Yes. Like I've learned a lot from you in my career, and like I think we've kind of grown together, but I'm a big fan of the way that you work.
Well, thank you.
I have one thing to say that just popped in my head when you said interior design. So Gina, remember how we did our basement like a number of years ago?
Yep.
Yeah. So did you ever hear the story about the carpet with Andrew?
No.
Okay. So he made it very clear to me that I was not allowed to make any decisions about the basement. Like the basement was his. Okay. So, chose this god awful brown carpet. Like I can't even, it's not
that bad.
No, it's bad. It's really bad. Every time I go down there, which I work down there now. And so it pisses me off every day. And I just keep thinking like, how many more years until we can get rid of this carpet and put in something else? And
she keeps wanting to invite you over to get your opinion on what we should do down there. I like the carpet because I wrestle with the kids down there, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe hardwood eventually.
It's like if carpet took a poop, like it literally, I'm going to send you a picture of it because it's
not that bad.
Anyway.
Well, so the general rule of thumb is I'm never a fan of dark carpet in a basement in general because there's already a lack of natural light. So when you put something even darker in there, it really kind of gives it more of a drab type feeling. While I appreciate the man cave vibe, if you're sharing it with others, i.e. your wife.
That's what I was going for. It's not working out. I've held on. I mean, that was about 6 years ago. So, I think we can get some hardwood floors in here eventually, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, but back to you. So, you're great at what you do. I'm a big fan. We've worked together a lot. I know that in order to be, to work in the way that you work, like you have to have a legitimate passion for your career. Like you have to. So let's start there. Like, where did your passion come from for being a real estate agent?
Well, I don't know that it was necessarily exactly a passion that got me into real estate. It is a passion that now keeps me sustained in the business. But really, where it came from is my previous background. I came from a consulting firm. So in the professional services business, this business and that business, the number one focus is always client service and customer service. So as part of that, it was kind of a really super easy transition for me to make going from consulting to this business. But how it actually happened was completely random and really ties back to my never-ending love to continue to learn. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's just learning about, if it is real estate, if it's a documentary I'm watching. I have this terrible habit of starting the documentary and then I have to know how it ends. So I will Wikipedia it before it's even over because I have to know. So that started many, many years ago when I was at a consulting firm, and this company offered tuition reimbursement, but it was tuition reimbursement for anything, not necessarily the topics or the consulting areas that we offered. It was anything. So after I got my master's degree, I was young and I was bored because I wasn't like, what am I going to learn now? So I truly just one day thought, I think I'm going to get a real estate license and have my company pay for it. And they totally did. So that's really how it happened. And I had zero intent on ever actually really using it other than for myself and to like buy my first home. And I really kind of fell into it. Otherwise, I didn't wake up one day and just say, I can't wait to sell real estate. It was truly all stems from my continuous need to learn and discover new things.
How long, I mean, I know, Gina, but for listeners, how long have you been in the business then?
Yeah, sure. So I got licensed in December of 2005. So in December of this year will be my start of my 18th year. I know, but like Andrew mentioned earlier, really, I didn't become serious about real estate until probably like 13 years ago. But I really did not start to actually master my craft and really become fully immersed in real estate until Andrew and I decided to partner together. It was right around that time. Andrew and I had a mutual friend and partner in the financial world, and that person, who is still a great mentor to really both of us, moved on to bigger things. And so he had been previously my lender, and then he said, hey, I'm really sorry, but I'm getting promoted, so you need to choose somebody else. And so I actually interviewed Andrew and a couple of his other colleagues. And as you can see what happened, Andrew is also just the best. Like, I will only use you. Uh-huh. You are my ride or die. And yeah, I could definitely never be where I am without your support and really what you teach me. And one of the things that I rely on you for all the time is your patience and your ability to communicate to our clients like I've never seen any other lender. So that for me is huge, and I will always, forever and always be loyal, because that is something you just don't find. So that was a long way to answer. 2005, Jen.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I'm glad you brought up our mentor. Yeah, Mike, I still think about him almost daily and what he taught me. And yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, we make him sound like he's like dead or like 80.
No, I know. Well,
he's just moved on to a greater, bigger role, and he is still very much a friend of ours. But yeah,
absolutely. No, absolutely. But at the very beginning of my career, we were spending hours together every single day. So I still think about the lessons that he taught me back then. But yeah, that's awesome. And so I was going to ask, like if you foresaw your career going the way that it did, and it sounds like you didn't, but there was at some point it sounds like you did kind of make a commitment to growing your business, or maybe doing a few transactions and realizing, okay, my skill set it works well within this industry. So I guess, when was that? Like, are you saying like 2010, 2011-ish, when you decided, okay, I'm going to put just the pedal to the metal and go all in on real estate?
Yeah, so that also was, so most of my career, and I started my professional career fairly young. I started as an intern at this engineering consulting firm when I was 19, and I was still in college, and drove every day from Greeley up at UNC every day to Broomfield. And I was a consultant for about 10 years. And then at the end of that 10th year, I reconnected with my now husband and decided that I can't really be a consultant. My job at the time was 80 to 90% travel. And I just couldn't be a consultant and have a really successful home relationship and really be serious with Cameron. So at that time, I had to make a really tough choice. And that was probably right around 2000 and the end of 2009, 2010 or so. And then, I said, left my consulting job, which everybody thought was absolutely crazy. I had a really great life. I've seen the world. I've been a gypsy. I've lived in other countries, done really cool stuff. But the things you do for love. And I'm super glad I did. But when that happened, I needed to make a choice and I needed to find a new career. And then lo and behold, I had already had a real estate license. So when that happened, I did wake up one day saying, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I already have this license. So I might as well at least see what I can do. So from there, I did connect with some old friends who I knew were in the business. And then some friends that I had met actually in real estate school that I just stayed connected with and decided that, I'm going to give this a go. So I probably had a full year worth of real business in 2010.
Okay.
So 12 years, I would say, as like an actual real estate master. Before that, I did a couple for myself, but I was super off and on and part-time. And now, being a full-time realtor, I look back at the time and hope I did nobody a disservice being a part-time agent, because they are the ones who in a competitive market really are a challenge to manage and to handle. So I hope I wasn't annoying realtor.
So now, it's been like 12 years since you've been doing it full time. And I know, just from watching Andrew over, these last number of months, I know it's really important to understand like what your motivation is and what your why is around your work, especially when it's really difficult. So what drives you through like those hard times, or what motivates you to be in sales and to be a real estate agent?
Yeah. So I have always been a self-motivator. It doesn't matter in what aspect of life, what time of life. I have just always, again, kind of back to I just yearn to do something next and to learn the next thing. And, I don't know if you've heard the saying, but if you want something done, ask a busy person. Mm-hmm. Well, Franklin was definitely talking about me, because at one time I've had 5 or 6 different businesses going at one time and none of them related. So I have just always really been a self-motivator. Like the next thing that excites me, I will put everything in, and I'm just really grateful that real estate stuck. It wasn't until probably my later year, like the last 8 years, that I have truly grown to respect and understand what keeps me in the business and what sustains me is the relationships that I have in place. And all of my systems and all of my processes are now built around continuing to foster and nurture my friendships. One of the topics that Andrew and I have talked about before is, are there things that happen to us in this business that, really, I don't necessarily want to call them a failure, but are there disappointments that happen? And I would say one of the biggest ones that just keeps me up at night are those business relationships or clients that I meet as strangers that somehow I am not able to make into a personal friend or a real solid, genuine relationship through real connections. So for me, if I can't do that, I feel like I have failed, and I have failed them. And sometimes I've even failed myself, because I think, was it something about me? Did I not give them good service? Was it something I could have done better or differently? But those friendships that I'm able to develop and the relationships that I keep and walk away all these years later, that is what keeps me motivated and keeps me in the business.
I love that. I think, regardless of whatever profession you're talking about, I think the people that are the most successful are the ones that like truly understand and enjoy and put like relationships at the focus. Because when you don't have that as your focus, that, I mean, that stuff, like, life is connection, you know? And so I think making sure that that is the focus of your business is one of the reasons you've been so successful. One thing like we talk about a lot is that, you know, any top producers in any career, which you certainly are, put an emphasis on systems and processes. So, you know, there's a lot with top producers. There's systems and processes for every single thing that you do. Is there one specific one that you can talk about that maybe you've implemented recently, or one that has been most successful for you in your business?
Yeah, I have a couple. One of them is super easy and it's really tactile and easy to implement in any business. But essentially, one of the things that I do every morning, all of us get, I don't know, anywhere from, 25 emails on a slow day to 75 to 100 on a really busy day. So I treat my email inbox as my to-do list. Those are my tasks. So the only emails that you will ever see in my inbox are things that require action from me. That in itself then just naturally leads to better time management, because if I left all of the emails that I get every day that someday I might want to go back and look at that, you could be scrolling for hours trying to find that one email that you tried to remember where it was or what day you got it on. And I just cannot do that. I don't live my life like that. So for me, I read every single email and it either gets thrown to spam, it gets trashed right away, it gets filed in a file system, or it stays in my inbox because it means I have to do something. Once it's done, it then gets filed away. So every morning I log onto my system, I look through my emails, I do that whole filter system, and then whatever's left, then I go through and I work, really kind of, well, I do this mentally. I don't have like an actual diagram, but I go through my 4 quadrants and I say, okay, what is really urgent and really important to what's important but not urgent, and what's really not important and I don't care about it. I will wait till it moves up in level of importance before I even address it. So that one I think applies to anybody in any industry, in any field, not real estate specific. For some of my other systems and processes, what I found that I actually differ from other agents is I really do not rely on social media at all. Mm-hmm. I'm not on Instagram. I don't have Snapchat. I don't even know what other ones I may or may not have. I do technically have a Facebook page, but if you looked, I'm positive it's my wedding photo from like 12 years ago. And I never post. And if there is a post on there, it's because somebody like tagged me on it. And I still to this day, I have no idea. Like I'll look at some photos and it's like, the pound symbol, which I now know is hashtag, but I don't know what that means. And like, you'll just see like 25 of them in a row. I'm like, that's not a link. It doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. So I actually do not rely on social media, which I hear in my office, because regular office meetings, that they are, constantly asking each other, like, what are you posting? What is your content? And I think it's very valuable. But for me, I just have found a different rhythm. And my rhythm and what I really rely on for my systems and my process is really more of kind of an old school, handwritten, paper to pen approach. So I still constantly, I handwrite all my notes, all my holiday cards, all my birthday cards or anniversary cards or congratulations on your wedding. All of those are never email. They're all just really like actual cards that I send. When I need to reach out to a client, I do obviously rely on text messages a lot. Especially now that people are, working from home, I won't just like come on over and stop by to say hi.
You can with us if you want.
Which I would love to, yes, because now I clearly need to weigh in on this whole basic.
Yeah, and sit on the brown carpet.
No, we just won't go downstairs.
Yeah. So I'm kind of a little bit more old school is what I've learned, even though I'm certainly very much of the, the generation that could definitely utilize social media. And it works really, really well for a lot of agents in my office. It just isn't me. And I have just found that I'm just happier and more successful using what I know works for me, even though it may not be what anybody expects.
Yeah. Well, and I think if that works for you and that's in your rhythm and in your flow and I also think you can make deeper connections maybe without it, and having those one-on-one conversations. But I like that too, what you do what you said about your emails, where you kind of treat it as those quadrants, in terms of being a real estate agent too. I mean, it's such a reactive business that we're in, right? When people reach out and they want to go see, and for me, it's, hey, I want to get a pre-approval today. And, that's typically something that takes more than one day. It can be done in a day, but to do it right, it takes a little bit more time. And so there's, some education around that. And I've got systems built to make sure that people understand like what the process looks like for you, like from a time management perspective. If you just pick up your phone and go run and show someone a house, when they call, that would be probably not the highest and best use of your time. So from a time management or a system hack in terms of like setting those expectations with buyers, like how do you approach that?
Yeah, so I've actually gotten lucky the last few years with our crazy market. You have no choice but to actually see a house as soon as it comes out. So truly, the market kind of set the expectation that if I'm actually not available 24/7, that I might be too late and that I really can't show up for my clients. As the market is shifting a little bit into just a more balanced market, it is nice. And it's been a relief because now it means that, yes, we can actually plan to go see houses on a more traditional schedule, which is normally either evenings or weekends. And the weekend days being, Friday and Saturday as the two most important. I don't know if that will ever change, mostly because, people still do work typically traditional schedules, whether they're at home or at the office. They're still normally working from 8 to 5. So most people still have, Saturday and Sunday as days off. So Friday and Saturday, I kind of mentally always know that those are going to be my days that I'm out showing. And if it means I'm gone till morning till night to get everybody in, that's completely fine. If, there are houses that are still lasting and making it through the weekend, as we get into a more balanced market that is happening, we can actually go out on a Monday or a Tuesday as long as you are okay knowing that you're not seeing it right away on day 1 or 2. And yeah, somebody could definitely still make an offer and it could be gone by your Monday or Tuesday. But because it's slowing down a little bit, I'm able to spread it out. But for the most part, Friday and Saturday are my days to show. Sundays are always really quiet and we're waiting to see or hear if our offer was accepted or what offer we're going to accept. And my office days are typically Mondays and Tuesdays. Those are the days where if an offer is accepted over the weekend, I schedule appointments, do all of the contractual paperwork, get you the contract, get the title company the contract, schedule inspections, make sure that everything is set for the rest of the contract timeline.
Right on. And I like that. And you mentioned, the market in a shift, and I'm starting to see it too. It's been a very unique market with how fast interest rates have jumped up this year. From your perspective, like, are you starting to see that shift from a seller's market to a buyer's market, or what are you seeing? Like, what's your take on that? Because I have a lot of buyers ask me, hey, with rates being up, like, should I wait? Like, our home value is going to start coming down. What are you seeing?
So I would say, to answer the first question, are we shifting to a buyer's market? And my quick answer is no, not yet. We're balancing for sure. But if you still look at some of the historic numbers, the number of total listings that we have is still significantly down. The market absorption rate, which essentially is the number of houses on the market, how long they will take. If there are no more new houses getting listed, how long will it take for all of those to sell? We're still at like 30 days, average days on market. And of course, every neighborhood is going to vary, right? Like, you can't necessarily compare Denver to Longmont. But, we're still at around 30 days or less. So if a house is priced right and shows well, it is absolutely still selling within a week. So I wouldn't call that quite a buyer's market yet, but there are more options. And I would say what we've really seen happen is the multiple offers that have been so insane, from, $10,000 if you're lucky to $100,000 if you're realistic. That's gone away. So that in itself has been really helpful. And some of the coaching that I've given clients, well, again, I really rely on you to give, all of our clients their financial coaching. But when they do ask me, and they do, I often tell them that if they can take advantage at buying a house now at the current value, not overpaying by not participating in all these bidding wars, and you can secure it now, then really whoever buys now is going to financially be in a better place long term, because eventually rates will drop again, and then you can refinance. But you've been able to secure your asset at the lower actual current market value, and then can get a lower interest rate, versus all of our other clients who, I get, timing was what it was, and were really kind of forced to pay, the $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 over list price. They can never change that. But people who can buy today at current value and not participate in all the crazy overbidding and price wars really have a chance to really be in a good financial place as soon as rates do go down.
Right. And they'll be able to refinance without seeing a prepayment penalty, and can still expect a little bit of appreciation, depending on what economic report you're looking at. We're seeing a slowdown of appreciation, but we're not seeing a drop. We're not expecting a crash. I think in a normal year, again, depending on where you're getting your information, 3 to 5% appreciation rate is normal. I think it was somewhere around 20%, depending on the area, from 2020 to 2021. So, we're not going to continue to see that.
Yeah. So in thinking about just the amount of years that you have had in real estate, can you point out maybe one characteristic or one trait that is important for longevity in the real estate industry?
I kind of touched on it a little bit, and it's probably not a direct answer because it's not really a trait. Besides my humor, obviously.
Which is delightful.
Truly, Jen, it's really, I still just kind of go back to the relationships, right? And it's really kind of more than relationships. I'm really lucky. For the most part, I would say that of all of the hundreds of clients that Andrew and I have, there are probably only one or two that I wouldn't pick up the phone and just have an actual friend-to-friend conversation with, honestly. And I don't know if that's common. I guess I don't have that conversation with other realtors. So I don't know if that's common or not. But I feel really good about it. That really is the characteristic, or how I would characterize my successful day, my successful transaction, my successful world, my successful business, is really, have I been able to create meaningful ties to the world? And that, being in sales, for me, is way more important than any other of my metrics. Well, yes, I do have metrics, and yes, I do set goals. But really, if I can create a true, genuine connection and a real friendship out of a transaction, for me, that's really my goal.
I love that.
Yeah, that's huge. Relationships are everything. I've seen you do a great job at that. And I don't think a lot of realtors have that mindset. I think a lot of realtors and lenders and people in sales fields, it's more of a transactional mindset. And I think that they really do struggle. And I think that's good advice, but I think they really do struggle in a market where business isn't booming. I think investing in relationships when you're busy and throughout your career is important, because that'll kind of keep you going through the downtimes. But you mentioned that you do set, goals. What sort of goals do you have here, maybe over the next 12 months, or ambitions for your business?
Yeah. So I do set, so every year I do set my annual goals. They, however, again, since sometimes my systems and processes are a little different, I don't set anything around revenue. And I think for a business owner and somebody self-employed, not setting revenue goals might just be so far off of, wait, what? But yeah, I never set revenue goals. My goals are really all about the number of transactions and the number of sales. And again, that's because those represent, yes, while they obviously equate to a revenue number, it's really about that's the number of new friendships and relationships that I created that year. And it's that number that propels me and prepares me for the next year and the next year, or in 5 to 7 years, which is the average lifespan of a homeowner. So my goals are always really more about how many connections am I making. After I set my yearly goals, I then break it down into quarterly, monthly, and then daily. So every day, how many clients am I contacting? How am I contacting them? What is the contact? And then that really generates to the monthly. Okay, well, since I did that daily, then now monthly, I do have new buyers. I do have new listings. I do have this. And then that, of course, just rolls up into your quarterly goals and then obviously your year-end goals. But yeah, they're never revenue-based. They're really all based on connections.
Okay, I have an interesting question because I think one thing that I'm always being really thoughtful about is, like, I look at like my life or Andrew's life, and what's that movie we talk about all the time?
Which one?
The one where it's like the sum of all of the things that he's.
Oh gosh, yeah, I can't.
Slumdog Millionaire. Have you seen that movie?
I did. Isn't it? It's like a game show.
Yeah, but it's basically like this kid. It's like a movie about how all of these things that have happened to him in his life have led him to this very like specific place of where he is successful, right? Yeah. So I think about that with my life all the time, or like, how did like the things that I learned when I was younger shape me so that I was really successful at doing things now? Or like for Andrew, like what were the things that, you know, impacted him when he was younger, make him really great at what he's doing now? So is there something that you can think back to, whether it's like a skill or a moment or a situation that allowed you to be really great at connection and connecting and building relationships with your clients?
Yeah. Gratitude. So I try to always remember and recognize that every single person knows at least one realtor, if not 3. And I try to be thankful that when they choose me, they had options and they had choices and they still selected me. So I try to be sure that they know how grateful I am that they chose to choose me as a trusted advisor, that they want me to be their partner in not only the business transaction, but really a partner in helping them navigate through this entire part of their life, which is a big deal. And it's more than just buying a house. It's, you know, helping them make really good decisions and thinking through what buying a house means for them, not only emotionally, but for their family, financially. So I try to show my gratitude in multiple ways all the time and never forget that everybody has a choice. And for our clients to keep coming back to myself and to Andrew year over year or home over home, that's huge. And then I kind of feel like, yeah, I've done my job.
I love that. And it's like in line with just not taking anything for granted too. What do you do to grow or expand your mindset?
Learn.
Truly. Are you a listener? Do you read? Where do you get your information? Where do you think you learn the most?
Okay, well, this might not be a popular answer. I'd like to say that I read a lot and I'm very studious. Okay, I'm not, and that's not true. I love, well, this is learning the wrong kinds of things, but my actual like number one favorite pastime is like true crime. Doesn't matter if it's on a podcast, if it's on TV, like obsessed. I just get it. Like, I just love true crime. So I'm not sure that I'm really learning anything there. So that's probably not true. But
I mean, if
you're learning people though, that's what I like about those is you like get to read body language and you do learn from it.
Okay, you'll appreciate this. So Andrew has us watch the prison shows, you know, like the locked up. Yeah. Cause he's just fascinated. He's like, you know, like it's just people like, and it's interesting to watch people like be in this situation. And when you realize, you know, how close so many people are to being in that situation, it's actually a pretty crazy idea to think about. So
totally. I think this is why I also enjoy real estate so much. Like the whole thing is about people watching. Yeah. Right?
True.
I mean, it really is. Like, I mean, it's like watching our clients respond in like sometimes very bizarre ways. And like, I never thought about that. You know, or like the other agents on the other end, or I mean, the whole business is so people heavy and people related that this probably is why I like it so much. It's just people watching all day long.
You almost like grow and expand your mindset by watching them.
Well, and I've noticed something that you do too. Me and you are alike in this, that if we do see something on a transaction, I don't think we let it go by without learning from it and actually like adding something to our system. So I think that's probably, you know, in terms of like a professional, you know, kind of growth mentality, I think that you probably don't let a lot of things, if it doesn't go right, I think you probably learn from it and fix it within the transaction and then make sure that it doesn't happen again on, you know, a future transaction.
1,000,000%. It drives me crazy when I see like another agent doing something that just, it just is not the right way. Like, it's going to cause a bunch of problems for people. So one of the things I've tried to do though is really just kind of temper when it's appropriate for me to interject or not interject. They have their own business to run. So as long as I'm still protecting our people, I really let a lot of stuff go. But through being able to learn how to let stuff go, I truly am growing myself. Mm-hmm. I used to really be, I used to find a lot of hills to die on. And it's so silly now. I mean, was it really that important? Probably not. Mm-hmm. So I've really kind of done a lot of self-growth that way. But then even professionally, that translates to being able to help our clients put things into a better perspective or just a different perspective. And oftentimes we find that what we think is really a problem, it really isn't. It's just something we have to talk through, work through, ask for help on or something, and it's really a non-issue. But it's taken me probably a lot of years to get into a good place to be able to see that. And be able to make sure that I'm helping our clients see and do the same things.
And I think what's interesting about what you said is when you're watching other people potentially do something in a way that you feel like is not the best way to do it, you almost learn a whole lot more from watching that situation than by seeing hundreds of people do the right things. Like, I feel like when you see things like go wrong, I mean, I just get so much more from that. So I think that's interesting that you're learning from that, but also like not dying on the hills, you know, because you can't, I mean, you do get emotionally invested when it potentially impacts your day. Right. So I like that you are taking the lesson from it, but also like leaving your emotions as much as you can out of it. Yeah.
Try.
Yes. Well, you know, yes. Okay. Last question. Best question. If you could write a book on anything, what would it be? What would you write it about? True crime.
True crime. No, thank God I'm not involved in any. Okay. Can run my background check. I'm super clean. I've been pulled over one time. when I was 16 and my mother was in the car.
Okay, deal.
Actually, it's funny. I actually would write a book about real estate, but not transactional. It would be about, first of all, I don't think I could actually publish it under my name. I think I'd have to have like a ghostwriter because I want to say some things that I know would not be popular and would not necessarily be appreciated by everybody, but it would be funny as hell because it'd be true.
Do it.
I know. So I just have had, throughout the years, Andrew and I together have just had a whole bunch of just crazy things happen to us that I think it would be really fun just to, kind of document, like, here are all the things that do happen and like, a whole life is stranger than fiction stuff. I've had a house burn down like a week before we're supposed to close. Yeah. I've showed up for like a final walkthrough and all of the copper piping is just gone. Like somebody stole it in the night. So just like documenting all these things and then just kind of sharing like what happened, like how did you get through it? Did the house sell? Did it fall apart? And then just, and then there are, I take it back, there are a couple of true crime pieces, but they're not about me. They, on the darker side of things, I even have stories, unfortunately, like a couple of murder houses that I've either co-listed or had a buyer who was interested in like what that looks like. So I actually do think it would be a book of real estate, but not a how-to. It's not that. It's the real shit that happens.
I'm interested in this.
Real shit, real estate, real shit. Yeah, I love it.
It'll be like a series of short stories.
I love it.
This is the preview right here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time. It was great to pick your brain. Guys, if you're listening to this, like us, subscribe, comment, rate the podcast. But Gina, we really appreciate your time. You're one of the best. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.